Hi guys, welcome to Track Limits. We're on to episode 3 now, and tonight we're going to be talking mainly to Dom about his excellent knowledge on WRC. I'm going to be asking him some questions about the upcoming season, what's happened in round 1 and 2, and his predictions and hopes for the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship. Right. Well, I need to stop saying that at the start of podcasts.
I think that's your signature move. We've started every podcast with that.
I don't want it to be my signature move. I sound like a politician.
It fits, man, it fits.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Let's put that in the past. WRC
is the talk of tonight, isn't it?
WRC. Driver changes.
Yeah, there's been quite the silly season. I don't think we've ever had a silly season in recent times, or even as far back as I can remember. So yeah, this is probably one of the first real big silly seasons of WRC.
So we got reigning drivers champion
Ott Tanak,
who won his
first drivers championship
last year with Toyota in the Yaris. And he's jogged on, hasn't he?
He has. I think that relationship, it wasn't going sour, but there were a lot of articles coming out end of last year, suggesting that, there wasn't all the swan song that everyone thought that, it's an all Scandinavian team, and Ott Tanak is a star driver. But just take a step back a bit and see when he started. He started back with M Sport with Malcolm Wilson in a Ford Fiesta, and he was basically like the little kid driving with Petter Solberg and Jari-Matti Latvala at the time. And although he was quick, his highest finish that year was 5th, but he used to crash cars. He was a bit crazy, and then he kind of disappeared for like a couple of years, and then came back to M Sport with the rubber duck thing. He had a rubber duck that he used to have on the end of his handbrake. Well, no, sorry, it wasn't a rubber duck. It was like a duck stuffed doll. And after his Titanic moment in Mexico, when he went for a bit of he rolled down a cliff face into a pond.
Bit of a habit of doing that. We'll get to that. Sorry,
and the car was rescued, and he did continue on that rally. But after that, Malcolm Wilson said, you can't have the duck on the handbrake anymore. So he had it in the door pocket. And then he's gone on to just being this incredible driver. He's probably as cool as Kimi Räikkönen is. He's just got like this kind of effect, and he is insane behind the wheel. He's so confident.
I didn't realise quite how old he was. I thought he was quite...
He looks quite young.
Me not having really the first idea about WRC, I'm here as much to learn as I am to give input, I think, on this one. Not that I'd heard of WRC before. Well, I'd heard of it. Mm-hmm. I'm not an idiot. But it wasn't at the front of my mind until really I met you, and we've been going to Rally GB for three years now.
3 consecutive years, yeah.
So I'd not heard of him, and I'd heard of Ogier. I'd heard of obviously Loeb and the other larger, more well-known drivers, but Tanak, never heard of him. Yeah. And I just got the impression when I went to Wales with you the first time that he was quite young, but he's not. He's over 30, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been around WRC for long enough, but he's never been in a good enough seat or had the good enough opportunities to do it. And that first year when we went, he was, I think he was driving, the year before we went, he was driving a D-Mac Ford, so he wasn't even in a factory team. And then that year we went, he was driving the M Sport Ford, playing little brother to Ogier.
And you had Elvin Evans in the D.
Elvin Evans was in the D-Mac Ford, and he won the rally that year.
He did. We'll get to that.
You'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, Tanak has come leaps and bounds, and everyone wants him. Everyone, I mean, as you see, he's taken the plunge, or rather, I'd like to think the climb, because the Hyundai is my favourite team on the grid.
Are they your favourite team because they're the best team, or are they your favourite team?
I've just always loved them from the time Neuville moved from M Sport to Hyundai, not knowing at all what the car is going to be, and the car came out of the box pretty quick, under the helms of Michel Nondon, Since then, they've switched to Andrea Adamo, and he's very, very Italian, as you see in his celebration. When they won the championship last year, and all his pre-season antics with all the promo videos with like Sebastian Loeb being a detective and stuff like that. He's got a certain flair about him that you need as a team principal. I think other team principals are quite robotic. Richard Milner from M Sport, he's a really sound guy. I had the privilege of meeting him a couple of times, and he's the right man to take over from Malcolm Wilson. But M Sport need a bit more development in their car. I mean, the car's got pace and they've got good drivers, but it just lacks that little bit of finesse that the other teams have. But yeah, I've always loved the Hyundai. It's different. I never would have thought that Hyundai would make a return back to WRC after driving the Accent in early 2000s, and they've come back. Yeah,
that just sounds terrible.
The car probably was quite terrible, but this i20 and then this new generation i20 Coupe, I mean, it's incredible. I love the car.
I mean, the Hyundais, and I'm going to talk about their road cars. Their road cars have come on leaps and bounds.
Yes, they have.
That
particularly
i30N is
paying, isn't it?
It's the standout hatchback for me.
Yeah,
I think I'd have one.
I would. I can't afford one, but
I mean, if someone offered me one, I would take them up on it, definitely. Yeah. But if I had to choose any hot hatch,
the road going versions of these WRC cars.
Beyond that, I think any hot hatch. I think the i30N is a stunning looking car.
Yeah, it is.
And to be honest, looks are everything. I just love the Hyundai. I like their philosophy. They're basically the underdogs, and their aim was to win the manufacturer's title. It took them a while, but they won it. And Neuville, who is my favourite driver on the grid, missed out again. He's always played second best to Ogier. Last year he played second best to Tanak, and this year they're teammates. And with them being teammates, everyone's saying, Tanak is gonna, in Caribbean terms, wash off Thierry Neuville, and everyone else is saying, no, Thierry Neuville's gonna wash off them. And then all the talk of Ogier at Toyota, and Ogier and Elvin Evans have been teammates before, and it worked very well. It wasn't on Ogier's recommendation that Mäkinen signed Elvin Evans, but Ogier, he did say, Elvin is a really good guy to work with, and he knows his stuff, and he's quite the mechanic as well. There was one year, that same year with, it was the year after DMAC, when he was teammate to Ogier. He landed heavily on a jump and broke a rear wishbone, and he finished that day, that loop of stages, with a spanner Jubilee clipped to the bottom of the wishbone to keep it together. And he did Finland, half a day in Finland with all the jumps at 100 plus mile an hour with a spanner holding the wishbone together. So the kid's got talent on and off the track. So that's one. And then another talking point is Kalle Rovanperä, the son of Harry Rovanperä, former multiple rally winner in the Peugeot 206 alongside Gronholm, just keeping that Finnish flair. The kid's 19 years old and he's stepping up to drive WRC cars. I mean, that is incredible, and Mäkinen's got a lot of faith in him. What sort of age do these drivers make the jump from WRC2 and the lower categories up to WRC? Because obviously we've got, and my F1 background coming through again, we've got drivers are getting younger and younger and younger. Yeah. They're being sort of groomed into these Formula 1 drivers, and Max Verstappen was 17 when he got his drive at Toro Rosso. Is 19 some sort of record?
Yeah.
Unheard of?
Yeah, very unheard of. When Colin McRae is still the youngest person to win the Drivers' Championship back in '95. Can't remember how old he was at the time, but he was in his 20s. But he wasn't particularly old for a rally driver. So Kalle Rovanperä being 19 years old, driving these current crop of WRC monsters. I have an opinion. No, we haven't come to the prediction section of the show yet, but I have a feeling that Rovanperä will probably get a podium this year. Probably will even get a race win later on after he settles in the car, so he'll be one to watch.
Excellent. Do we have any other driver changes to discuss?
Yep, some other driver changes. Obviously, we've covered Toyota. Hyundai have kind of confirmed their drivers, but they've got all the cards to play for. So, with the demise of Citroën pulling out.
Have any teams left, Dom?
Ooh, let me guess. Citroën have pulled out.
Another one bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust.
WRC, is it in trouble?
I don't know. I think everyone seems to have a big doubt about this year whether 3 teams is enough, but of course it is. I mean, it's racing all the way through.
And they're fielding, how many drivers is that?
They're
fielding 3 cars per rally?
3 cars across 3 teams per rally. But some teams run a 4th car to get extra data. Toyota run Takamoto Katsuta in their 4th car for selected events.
And that doesn't count towards the Constructors' Championship?
No, so it's different to how most other motorsport disciplines work. So your top 2 cars in the overall score points towards the Manufacturers' Championship.
And that, so provided, and here's a hypothetical situation for you, if Toyota turn up with 4 cars and they get a 1, 2, 3, 4 in the rally,
they get points for 1 and 2.
They get points for 1 and 2, and then whoever's come 5th, say Ford's come 5th, does the Ford get points for 5th, or does it get points for 3rd?
No, it gets points for 5th.
So there could be a bit of tactics at play.
There has been tactics before where a 3rd driver may, outscore a number 1 driver from a different team to play the manufacturer game, and it has happened even as recent as last year. So they'll be looking to do stuff like that.
I mean, I've looked into the history of rally, and I know that the Lancia 037, back then, could you just take any number of cars and get points?
Back then there wasn't any limit to it.
So I know Lancia turned up with more cars to a rally that they knew they were going to do well at, so they'd win more points. How Italian is that?
Very Italian. Sounds like something Andrea Adamo would do, and I think he probably in a way has already done it, because he's signed 4 drivers for this year. So he signed Tanak and Neuville, obviously, and his 3rd driver, his 3rd car will be shared between the winningest race car driver of all time, Sebastian Loeb. He's sharing that 3rd seat with Danny Sordo, who was actually number 2 to Loeb for a lot of the Citroën days. And unsigned this year are Mickelson and Breen, but they are still in the Hyundai camp, and they still wear Hyundai colours when they go up together and stuff like that. So that's a bit of an interesting one. He's got
dates.
On dates, yeah. Andrea Adamo is just, ransoming these WRC drivers and just keeping them in his basement for when he needs them, kind of thing. And then with the demise of Citroën, it left Esa-Pekka Lappi without a drive. He didn't even know that it was going down until after they submitted an article and an official press release, and then basically left them up to dry. And Lappi is a race winner for Toyota. Obviously the car last year with Citroën was quite the dog to drive. So there was a lot of uproar on social media, saying, "Oh, you are the reason why Sébastien Ogier doesn't have another championship." And it's like, well, he's the one behind the wheel. The team can only do so much. But I do have to agree partly with the mass media that if he was in a different car, he probably would have been closer. But to wrestle a dog of a car to 3rd in a championship is still an achievement.
Definitely.
So Esa-Pekka Lappi has basically crossed the pond, give Richard Miller a call. "Hey Rich, what's going on? No drive." And Richard's like, "Cool, come drive for us." And within like a week of the whole Citroën thing, Lappi was signed with M Sport, and it's a no-brainer really. You've not got anyone else to play for. There's no more Chris Meek, no more Latvala, although we will be seeing Latvala back in a Toyota on selected events this year. He's rumoured to be doing Sweden with former Toyota driver and current Toyota test driver Juho Hänninen, also a Finn. So that'll be an interesting dynamic in Sweden. And then M Sport retained Teemu Suninen, and they're going to have Gus Greensmith, young Brit, driving in 9 of the rounds this year. Gus Greensmith has done a lot of work over the winter season. He's lost lots of weight. I think he lost how much was it? I think he lost like 15 kilos or 20 kilos. He's gone full on for this, and he's probably the next best thing in WRC from a quote unquote junior point of view. He's not young, but in the whole junior way of how WRC things go.
Right, and we're talking junior. Mm-hmm. We can move on to some lower categories. WRC 2.
WRC 2, yeah, so as you have feeder categories into F1, from Formula 4, 3, 2, all the way up, and other formulas as well. Your basically your WRC journey starts with the junior WRC. It's taken many forms over the years with the Super 16 era. There was also a PWRC at one point, which ran Group N, Evos and Imprezas. This year it's running the R2 spec Ford Fiesta, the new facelift Fiesta that you see on the roads today. And it's basically a 1 litre turbo. It's got 5-speed sequential gearbox, Riga suspension, fancy Brembo brakes. It's a bit lighter, and it's, to be honest, a lot of kit for a junior to drive in a rally scenario. Then you step up from that into WRC 3, which is they run R5 cars, so they're 1.6 litre engines, same as the big boys, but they're restricted to a smaller intake size. They run, I think they run a smaller turbo, I'm not sure. They run a different gear drivetrain, so they're 4-wheel drive, 5-speed, and they've got lower aero than the big boys. And WRC 2, they run the same exact cars, but they're in essence pro. So last year there was WRC 2 and WRC 2 Pro, and this year they've separated them now to be WRC 3 and WRC 2. So one is more of a customer outfit, one is more of a factory outfit. So you've got the likes of Oliver Solberg, Petter Solberg's son, driving in WRC 3, but they're all competing in R5 cars.
He was mixing it with the big boy. No, who was it?
Yeah, it was him. He was mixing it with the big boys when we went to Rally GB last year. He was unlucky with lots of gremlins with the car, but on the first stage, on the Friday, he put 5 seconds in Kalle Rovanperä in an R5 car, and Rovanperä is in a WRC car this year. So Rovanperä versus Solberg. Big things to come for Solberg. Big things to come for Solberg, but not yet. He needs to prove himself in WRC. But yes, I think next year we could see him do a couple of rounds in a WRC car, and that will be epic to watch.
Brilliant. Right, I'm going to move on then to your prediction and hope for the season. Ooh. Constructor and driver. I don't think I've got any knowledge to be able to give a prediction or a hope, other than the fact that I think Nervo maybe just deserves a driver's championship.
He's been second best to Ogier since 2015.
He just constantly seems to be that guy that's winning rallies and not managing to do anything with those wins. So it'd be nice to maybe see him have his moment in the sunlight.
Well, know that Hyundai have a manufacturers championship under their belt and the car is reliable. I think it's best and accurate to say that the Hyundai is the best across the season. Last year the Toyota was the quickest car without a doubt, but Hyundai was the best compromise. It worked on all surfaces, it worked in all conditions, and it's just, you want a car that's versatile, not a car that just performs on 3 events in a year. And carrying on from that momentum last year, my prediction is that Hyundai will win the Manufacturers' Championship. I have not the foggiest idea on predictions for drivers, because there's so much, and unlike F1, there's not really pre-season testing. You test on an event basis on each different surface. So you have nothing to compare car for car, driver for driver. It's basically them to get a feel for what the car is doing before the event. And quite often they go through suspension setup, and they do extensive amounts of work with drivetrain setup and ramp angles and stuff just to get the car to rotate better on each surface. So it's difficult. My prediction is that it will be a Hyundai driver. but my hope is that it is Neuville instead of Tanak. But I don't really have a preference. I mean, I'm a Hyundai fan, I'm a Neuville fan, and I think it will come from one of those. As a hope, I'd like to see some upsets. Let's just go with, as a hope, I'd like to see Rovanperä wow some people, and he's wowed everyone already, stepping up to the big boy seat. But I want him to put let's say, not put his money where the mouth is, but put the rubber to the road kind of thing.
Maybe a podium then.
Maybe a podium, yeah.
Who knows? Right.
So
we've got a little. I can't remember the word for it.
What you're thinking of?
When you know something but other people don't know you know it, and then you tell them.
Oh, one of them things.
Yeah.
Surprise!
No, not surprise.
Some information.
We've got something to tell you that we kept a secret.
Yeah. Well,
I can't remember the word.
No,
it's going to do my head in. We've got a thing to tell you. Let's go with that. We've got something to tell you. We may have recorded the previous section pretending it was before the season had started, when in actual fact
we've already past round 2.
We've already had 2 rounds. We've been very busy. But
we have a duty to you, the listeners and the fans, so let's just get straight to it. Rally Monte Carlo. Boom, bam, bim. Let's go.
Boom, bam, bim. That's a new one. Right, boom, bam, bim. Winner.
It was Thierry Neuville, after finally triumphing over Sébastien Ogier. Last year, the Monte Carlo rally went down to just, I think it was like 2 seconds or less than that by the end. This year, Neuville finally beat Ogier to a Rally Monte Carlo win, and he's led the rally before and then went off and lost loads of time. He was like a minute ahead a couple of years ago. He's just an incredible tarmac driver, and from onboards, when you watch him, he's just so fluid. You watch other people's onboards of even the same Ogier and Evans and stuff like that, and they're just wrestling the car, and he knows how to set up a car. The body language of a car is just very, very smooth and fluid, and inside the car he just looks like he's not even trying. I mean, he's probably the smoothest driver I've ever seen in a WRC car.
Losers.
I
know this one.
Yep, it's M Sport.
Tanak.
Well, Tanak is the biggest loser.
In a big way.
My God, that crash was scary.
Would leave the road at 185 kilometres per hour.
That is just...
What's that in old money?
Well, 160 kph is 100 mile an hour. And I think 200 kph is 120 mile an hour. So he was over 100 mile an hour, flat out in 6th, when the car left the road. And the car just kept going and going and going. And Julian Porta said on the WRC Plus feed, that's still going. I thought it was never going to stop, and it was quite the distance. They were winded. Let's just it's a testament to the safety that is in these WRC cars.
100%. I watched the onboard camera pointing
back to them,
and they kind of seemed. I know they weren't chilling.
No, they weren't chilling,
but they kind of just seemed to sit there and take it.
His co-driver Martin Jorviola was asking him as the car was rolling down the cliff, is there a river down there? Because on the below road, past the below road, there's actually a river, as they discovered from doing the pace notes a couple of days before. And given Tanak has a record of falling into rivers,
you could hedge your bets there could have been a river down there. So I suppose that could have ended up quite. You don't want cars falling in rivers with doors.
But even without that, their first impact with the tree, fortunately they were going through the air, and they collected the tree as they were basically scribing an arc as the car left the road, but it pretty much ripped the front right corner out of the car. And that it's a kind of an awkward one to analyse what caused the crash, him being first on the road, but a combination of things. Let's just say he was committed to the corner. He was committed to the corner before, so much so that he didn't make the corner he went off on. He was nowhere near the apex on the left-hander that he left the road on. But it was due to in my opinion, a setup thing. He was known at Toyota for running the car quite low to the ground. And running a quite low ride height on tarmac events just improves responsiveness. It makes the car, the turn-in feel a lot more direct to the driver. And the setups are quite different between each driver. But from footage from the event, you can see Ogier's car was quite low compared to Elvin Evans' car. And Neuville probably runs the car quite high compared to everyone else. And from Neuville's onboard, the car did not bottom out going through that corner. And Suninen almost went off. Ogier almost had a big moment. Elvin Evans' car didn't bottom out as much, and he was probably the cleanest through. So I think combination of setup, which you can't really predict everything, and the drivers want to feel as immersed in the vehicle as possible. The combination of setup and being a bit overcommitted in that corner is what caused the accident. But yeah, thank God that they walked out of that okay.
Definitely. You were going to say a different loser.
I was going to say a different loser from the ones that finished. M Sport as a team were the biggest losers. By the end of the first night, stages 1 and 2, they had Suninen already in Rally 2, Gus Greensmith with an ailing car, and Esa-Pekka Lappi with a car that finished the day but kind of just made it. So the grille on the front end of the Fiesta is that low strip just above the in essence lower splitter on the front, and because it's quite low to the ground, quite often as the cars are going into braking zones, the front bumper is actually scraping the ground. It basically acts like a big bulldozer, and it scoops leaves up off the floor, and that caused overheating issues for all three of them. And it was just as simple as that. And then that led to Gus Greensmith being quite low on the fuel, and then he had a spin on and off, and then wasn't quick enough to make the Sunday shootout. And Suninen was doing some really good times considering he was starting first on the road from the following day, but by then all the damage was done with the car not performing properly. And Lappi finally gelled into a groove. Lappi actually finished ahead of Ogier by the end. Ahead of Loeb, correction. But yeah, M Sport have a lot of work to do to get that car balanced, up to standard. Yeah, I think they were unlucky with the leaves, but yeah, I think they are the biggest losers.
Okie dokie. Right, let's go to Sweden.
To Sweden, yes.
Sweden, and there's a big question. Where's the snow gone? It's a snow rally.
It's a snow rally, but there was there was thoughts of actually the rally being cancelled, and then some snow fell, and they said, okay, the rally's back on, but you're only going to do a short.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The fact that it's a snow rally, if it doesn't snow, can they not just do it as a tarmac rally, or do it as a gravel rally?
It's in the forest, so it is gravel, very much like Finland, but because it's scheduled to be a snow rally, they have to take snow tyres, which are studded. And running studded tyres, even on gravel, the studs don't last a day in the sun pretty much. They after one stage, you'd be losing like half the studs on each tyre. So then there's no grip at all. So it's worse than driving on ice with studs. So they had to make a
safety point of view.
From a safety point of view.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So they had to make the organisers still went through with having the rally, but they shortened the route, they cancelled some stages, and in particular the stage featuring Collins Crest, which normally is on the Sunday. We're not having that stage in the rally this year because of the snow, which is a shame. Collins Crest is known for the late great Colin McRae, my hero, going absolutely fully committed over that jump and just launching a million miles kind of thing. I mean, so there's actually a record each year of who jumps the furthest, and the record of all time is 44 meters by I believe it is Gus Greensmith in an R5 car, not even a WRC car, which is incredible.
That's a long way.
It is a long way.
Right, who won? Oh, I know who won.
Yes.
And I've seen him win before.
Yes.
I've seen
the first time you went to Rally GB, wasn't it?
I went to Rally GB with you in the freezing cold of the October 2017,
mm-hmm.
and we stayed in a caravan.
In a caravan, my
with no
caravan.
heating in
with
it.
With no heating, sorry.
Or hot water for my shower.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrendous.
It's motorsport.
It's etched in my memory, not because the same person won who won Rally Sweden.
But because it was an experience
because
to remember.
I've never been so cold in my entire life. So, anyway, Elfyn Evans won the 2017 Rally GB. His first win
in a long time.
Ever. His
ever.
first win ever in WRC. And then he's kind of been content with that for 3 years. Thought, don't need any more of those.
It's 836 odd days or something like that.
And then, boom. Bim bam boom.
And he was leading in Monte Carlo as well. And
So
he finished not far off of Ogier on third. So
he's on it then.
Would
you argue?
He's on it. He could win the championship, you know. I have to go back on my predictions and hopes.
Because he's clearly a fantastic driver.
Yeah.
However, he's been teammate to Ogier in
2018.
Ogier won that season.
Ogier won the Drivers' Championship that season.
And Elfyn Evans didn't win any rallies.
No.
He's not teammates, but he was in a DMAC
Fiesta the year before
when he won one rally. And is the DMAC Fiesta the same car?
It's the same car, but it's not the same team. It's the same mechanics kind of work on it, but they run on the DMAC tires, which are inferior to the Michelins.
Okay, but so it was obviously an outstanding result for him to get that win. But I don't see him being as good as your sort of big 3, 4.
Yeah.
You've got Nerville, Tanak, Ogier.
And then Loeb on selective events.
When he's there. And then you've got this void.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got
Elfyn Evans. Who has had a fantastic start to this season. Is he able to deliver a championship?
I think he can. Before, in leading scenarios, he's gone out on Sundays and bottled it. Argentina a couple of years ago, he bottled it when he smacked the gatepost. The same year in the DMAC car 3 years ago, and Nerville won it by half a second or 0.7 of a second on the power stage, because Elfyn Evans was up on the splits and he smacked the gatepost and lost, a fraction of time, but enough to throw away the rally to Nerville by 0.7 of a second. And since he's tamed himself down as the power stage on the Sunday, the only stage to be run on the Sunday for Rally Sweden, he went out and he was miles off the pace. He's saying, you know what, God, please don't let me bottle this now. I've bottled too many. I'm leading the rally by a long way. There's only one stage. This is my rally to take home. I want that trophy. And he delivered. Okay. He's playing smart now.
But the power stage is worth points, isn't it?
The power stage is worth...
Ultimately, a championship could be won on a power stage.
It could be. And power stage points are worth more than they were before. Originally, only the top 3 get points. 3, 2 and 1 for the top 3. Now it's the top 5 get points, from 5 points down to 1.
So your maximum take home from a rally is 30 points.
It's 30 points and if you win and the power stage.
Yeah, and he's come home with 25.
He's come home with 25.
It's not bad.
But the power stage was won by none other than Kalle Rovanperä, 19 years old, second rally in a WRC car, and he's won the power stage, and he's knocked Ogier off the third step. Ogier was at the he looked track limits. Apologies.
I don't imagine I would be too happy. 5 times world champion.
6 times.
6 times world champion. Being beaten by a young whippersnapper.
That is
I
the
can
thing
say that now because I'm the grand old age of 22, soon to be 23. 19, he's a whippersnapper.
He's a whippersnapper.
I wouldn't be keen.
But he went out there. I'm not sure if any of you listening at home watched the power stage, but the boy was pushing to the limit. When he came to the finish, typical Finnish style, his first response was "Wah," and he was out of breath.
Brilliant.
And he could be one to watch. He took points off the championship battle, and he isn't even in the championship battle. The kid's just oozing with confidence.
Talking of championship,
yes,
we now know that Elfyn Evans, I've put here, he's the joint championship leader because he has the same number of points as
Thierry
Neuville. However, he's got a first and a third. Neuville has
a first and a sixth.
So how do they have the same number of points?
Well, Neuville won Rally Monte Carlo and he won the power stage.
So he got
30 points from that.
Yeah.
and he gets points for 6th place, but he picks up 4 extra points for coming second in the power stage.
So he matches a first and third.
So he matches a first and third without being third in Sweden. So for that, Elfyn Evans starts first on the road in Mexico, which could be a game changer.
Why is that?
On any event that's not super grippy tarmac, which is particularly the entire calendar, running first on the road, you do a lot of what is known as road sweeping. You do a lot of cleaning the road. So there's no ruts formed, and there's nothing to gauge the feel or the grip of the surface, and there's no lines to follow for what corners to cut or not to cut. So whoever's first on the road for the first day has an uphill battle, and they're naturally going to be slow, even if they're driving the pants off the car.
Okay, so you don't necessarily want to be the championship leader because, and I've recently learned this, you don't qualify for rallying. You run in championship order. So is that your first on the road at the first stage? Or you're first on the road at every stage? You're first on the road for the first day. And then it runs in order. And then it runs in reverse rally order after the first day. So 10th, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then people who are in rally 2, so people who have dropped out of the rally but have rejoined to continue, they start first. And then the top 10 in reverse order. Okay, so even though potentially starting first on the first day is bad, you could then end up having it reversed. Yep. But you have the deficit has to be close enough such that you don't lose out as much by the end of the first day. Yeah, got you. But people have won from the front before. Loeb and countless times. Ogier has won Mexico from the front in VW more than once. So it can be done. But they're your special drivers though, aren't they? Yeah. They're those once in a generation drivers. So Neuville wasn't particularly peeved by losing some points to Evans in Sweden because it means he doesn't start first on the road, he starts second on the road. Now, although he may still have some road cleaning to do, he then has Evans's lines to follow, and that is confidence being behind the wheel, knowing that okay, I don't need to worry about cutting this corner because the guy in front of me did, and he's not in a bush over he's not in the bush over there. And the rally safe says that the stage is free. Brilliant. So Mexico, what will it bring? It will bring a lot. Tanak, just to backtrack a bit, Tanak lost out in Monte Carlo big time, but he finished second in Sweden because he started basically at the back of the field in WRC for Sweden, and not having to clean the road, finished second, and he picked up some power stage points as well. I think he picked up 2 power stage points, can't remember. He is still in relatively a low position in the championship, which means he'll be starting further back in Mexico, which means he might then pull off another great result. Yep. So I'm going to go with that as my prediction for Mexico. From 2 rounds in. Boyd Tanak is going to win Rally Mexico. I have no idea what to expect. We still don't know who's driving the third car at Hyundai, because after Loeb's performance in Monte Carlo, he stepped back. He did his job for the team after Tanak's crash, but he stepped back to give way to Craig Breen in Sweden. Craig Breen finished 7th, 1 place behind Neuville, and hadn't really tested the car all year. Tested it for a couple of days before Sweden, rocked up to the start, and basically pretty much matched Neuville just fractionally off all rally. So I don't think he has anything to be ashamed of after not having any seat time in a new car. So we don't know who's driving the third car at Hyundai, but regardless of who it is, they're going to have a lowish road order. Rovanperä could be an upset. Ogier may capitalise on being third on the road in Mexico in the same car as Elfyn Evans, which we know now is a rally winner. But Ogier is the one with the axe to grind. He's not won a rally yet, and we're almost 3 rallies in, and that's very uncharacteristic of the Frenchman. So he will be out for blood. Excellent. Well, let's see then. Well, let's see. There's some battles down the field as well. Toyota have got really good package. Katsuta is getting even more and more confident. He was mixing it with some of the M Sport boys during Sweden and in Monte Carlo. We may see the return of Gus Greensmith again in Mexico in the third Fiesta. So
there could be some midfield battles going on, taking points off of big drivers if they get any punctures or anything. So there's a lot to play for.
Brilliant. Well, I think we'll call it a day there, shall we?
We'll call that a day at the races.
Definitely.
And we'll get back to you on some updates between now and Mexico. So
yeah, we'll be back as well with a bit of a look back at the testing, the Formula 1 testing that's going on in a minute as well. That's my pride and joy. So, yeah, we'll be back.
We'll be back.
Thanks for listening.
Stay tuned.